Hi, welcome to the 18th episode of the New England Gal Knits podcast. I am Janet and I live in Massachusetts with my husband, our two boys, our cat, and our dog. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram at the New England Gal. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back, and if you're a new viewer, welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy it. I was a little nervous about filming today. It's only been a week and a few days since I podcast last, and I was a little nervous that I wasn't going to have a whole lot of knitting to share, but as I was kind of pulling out things, I actually did accomplish quite a bit, and I feel like I did not have a whole lot of knitting time over the last week and few days, but I obviously have. I've finished 2 pairs of socks. I've managed to cast on 3 more. Not quite sure how 2 pairs off can justify 3 on. I only like to have 2 pairs going at the same time. So I've cast on 3. I have another pair that's going that I haven't touched in a month, so I really need to work on that. And I enjoy knitting that pattern sock, so I don't know why it's kind of been pushed to the side, but I do have quite a bit to share, so I'll just jump right in with my finished objects. So my first finished object is these pair of vanilla socks, and here is the other one. So these were knit toe up with an afterthought heel on a 2.5 millimeter needle with 56 stitches, and then I did my 2x2 ribbing. I do really prefer 2x2 ribbing over any other type for my socks. So this is knit out of the heel is a Knit Picks Ash, Knit Picks Stroll base in the ash color, and then the remainder of the sock is knit out of Sweet Georgia Tough Love sock in her Stormchaser colorway. So, and these are super, I love this Sweet Georgia Tough Love sock. It's a little bit thicker than most sock yarns, and it feels sturdier than most, and I enjoyed knitting these. So, and I do love the pooling and how it spiraled. So, here we go. In the afterthought heel, I used Susan B. Anderson's Smooth Operator heel. So that's my first pair of socks, and then my second pair of socks, I love these. So these are the Irving Socks by Jaclyn Salem, and she does the Brooklyn Knit Folk podcast. So in 1 week I had managed to do, so I was saying it took me forever to get through this 1x1 ribbing. But once I was through this pattern, it just flew. So it's got cables down each side with the lace pattern in the middle. And then it has texturing in the back. And I had mentioned before her pattern called for a short row heel. I just did the fish lips kiss heel just because I have it memorized and it's easier. I think I had mentioned last time, could have been back in, I started these back in February, so it's been a long time coming, and the fact that I had this sock basically done in a week, there was no excuse for it to take me that long. But I did mess up the cables, so the cables are backwards from what's on the pattern. I did holding it in front when I was supposed to hold it in back, and holding it in back when it was supposed to be in front. But I still love the way it came out, and I'm so glad I remembered, because it had been multiple months and I don't remember things anymore. I don't know if it's old age or it's just too much going on to remember everything, but I'm glad I did remember that I had done it backwards so that the cables do match on both socks. And these were knit out of, it was Knit Picks Felice base, which I had ended up dyeing myself in this gold with blue and red speckles. So I had originally dyed 2 skeins of this color, and one of them was for the lace section of my Jveg. So I am so happy to finally have these off the needles, seeing it's been since February. And again, it was ridiculous because I love the pattern and it flew. I will knit this again. What I'll say is that I will end up, so with the count on this sock, it is not divisible by 4, so it's doesn't lend itself to 2x2 ribbing, but I think what I'll do is cast on 2 less stitches, do my 2x2 ribbing, and then increase by 2 stitches next time I knit these. And I will knit them again because I really I enjoyed it. It flew. I didn't even have to refer to the pattern at all for my second sock, which was great. So I could just take the sock with me without having to carry the pattern. I know people keep their patterns in like their iPhones or iPads. I hate to say it, I'm a paper person. I have to print it out. I don't know what it is that, for me, it's just so much easier reading and focusing in on a piece of paper than it is on a iPad or an iPhone. So this was nice because it meant I didn't have to bring my printout of the pattern with me and I could just take the sock and go. So thrilled with those, and now I am up to 5 socks for my box of socks, which is great. So it's almost, well, it's the, what time? It's the 22nd, so we're more than halfway through May, so that's good. I feel like I'm in a good pace to get all 12 socks done. I'd like to get more than 12 socks done. We'll see. Heck, if I can finish the 4 I have on my needles, I would be in very good shape. So the next pair, so for my works in progress, share my socks with you first. So I did end up sewing up a couple, these are 2 new drawstring bags I ended up sewing up. I love these. They're not interfaced, so you can literally shove them in a pocketbook. They squish up perfectly. I really do like them. And with the zippers, I have a habit of catching the yarn in the zippers. I'm not the most coordinated person, nor graceful, and I seem to always be tripping over my feet and catching things in zippers, and it's just a way of life for me. So anyways, this one, I love this print. This is pineapple, and in here I am housing my Wonderland socks, and these are by Tabi Gandee of the Hey Sister podcast and Hey Sister Yarn Company. So here is what I have so far, and I am knitting these out of stranded in her, this is the Oasis base in the Flamingo legs color, and I love this. I love this yarn. It's so summery. I love the pattern and the way it is working. I am knitting these on my Addie's Flippy Flax. I think I said that right. Needles. I haven't decided what I think about them. I definitely prefer them over double points. I was having, you can see on the side, some jog issues. Oh, this side's not so bad, but I don't know. I'm hoping this will focus in and you can kind of see where it goes in and out. But I'm getting used to them now. I'm trying to wait and get a whole sock done before I make any judgments. I know I prefer knitting on 9-inch circular needles. It took me a good sock and a half before I got used to them and enjoyed knitting on them. So verdict's still out on these. I'm enjoying them. They're a little more fiddly than the 9-inch where you can just knit in the round and you're not switching back and forth, but I'm enjoying them and it's something different. So, and the pattern's great. It's simple. Again, I don't have to carry the pattern around with me. I have it memorized already, which is great. So I can just take the bag with the needles and the socks and I don't have to carry around again another piece of paper. So really enjoying those. And then, so not this past Friday, but the Friday previous, we went and took the boys to go see Avengers. I've been wanting to see Thor Ragnarok again, which is why I have Thor on my brain. But we went and we took them to the Avengers, and I'm like, you know what, I was working on the ribbing of my other vanilla socks, and I'm like, I need to get another pair of vanilla socks on the needle so I can knit while we watch the movie. And I needed to get the toe done before we were in the dark, because I can't do that in the dark. So I kick this up, and this is Cascade Heritage Wave, and I can't remember the color number, but I'll put it below. And someone had mentioned in the comments from my last podcast that they knit with this and they didn't get 2 matching socks. And as I was scanning this up, caking it up, I noticed with the repeats of color, it's more gradient, so I'm not going to get 2 matching socks out of this. But I'm okay with that. I don't need matchy socks all the time. So here I am working on just finishing up the ribbing. I got quite a bit of this sock done. So this was where I was at the beginning of the movie. By the end, I was all the way up to the heel. It flew. And then on top of that, the following day I went out with some friends to get pedicures for Mother's Day. So I put in the yarn for the heel, and then I knit half of the leg on top of that. So this combination of yarn in the 9-inch circular needles, it flew. I couldn't believe how quickly I had gotten that done. So I'm enjoying it. I'm not quite sure how I feel about the color. I thought it would be more gradient, but I feel like there's I don't know how well the camera will pick it up, but right here there's a line with the color change that it didn't nicely go in. So I'm not sure how crazy I am about these. I may give them to my son. For him, he loves hand-knitted socks, and he honestly doesn't care what they look like. So we'll see. So this was one of my sock cast-ons, and then my second sock cast-on, my older son had his band concert, and I'm like, I need to get another sock going because I was afraid I didn't have that much to go on the leg before I hit the ribbing on this sock. So I'm like, let me just cast on another one. And I do not have a whole lot of this completed, but I have the toe, and I'm starting on the foot, and here it is, and it's just another plain vanilla sock, and both of these socks are 64 stitches on a US 1 2.25 millimeter. I have my little Tilted Planet progress keeper on there. And this is being knit out of a black bunny fiber in her Swampthing colorway, and it's a 75-25 base, and this is a little pathetic. So this is, I had already knit a pair of socks out of this yarn, and I had used up 50 grams, but I had really wanted this green in the sock. Look at my hair. And I didn't even come close to getting to the green, so I decided I'm just going to knit a pair of shorties, so I'm not going to do any contrasting colors with this, and hopefully get the green in this sock and just do, yep, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of shorty socks, and especially in the summer it's nice to have them, so these are going to be a pair of shorty socks for me. So that is it for my sock whips. So I cast on, because I have the majority of this done, so think I've mentioned before in previous podcasts that my brother and my sister-in-law are expecting their first baby, a baby girl, in July, and the baby shower is coming up on June 10th. And I'm like, I had yarn set aside. I knew I was gonna knit a Flax light sweater by Tin Can Knits for the baby with the yarn I had set aside, and my husband this weekend was like, you probably should get going on it because June 10th is only a few weeks away. So I cast it on. You know what, which is good because normally I'm a procrastinator. So at least I have this. Actually, I got quite a bit accomplished. I worked on this basically all day on Sunday. So here it is. It's so tiny. You know what, my boys are 10 and 12, 12-year-olds, almost 13, so I don't remember them being this small, but here it is. So this is being knit out of a Moonstone Dyeworks in her Castle colorway. This was, she was having a sale a few weeks ago, Orphans and Experiments, I think was the name of the sale, and it was just a whole bunch of yarn that she had either experimented with colorways or did different bases. This is 100% Merino, and it's so soft. So, and I love the way this is knitting up, and here it is in the cake. And her yarn, her and Woolen Vine, I love working with their yarn. I love the way it all knits up. So this is just, I have to say, it's flying. I love baby knits. I have to say, so I did not knit when my kids were little, and I kind of missed that. I wish I could have knit them little sweaters and little socks. I have to say, I look at the little socks and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll knit one for my niece. And then I'm like, I don't know how well I would do with that little stitch count in knitting the heel. I think I could handle the leg and the foot and even the toe, but the thought of doing a heel on those tiny little socks scares me. Maybe that it's all in my head and I'm sure it's fine, but I'll have to give it a try. You know what, if I have any leftover of this, maybe I'll knit matching little socks too, but I adore this. I love the way it's coming out. I would love to get my hands on, oh, this is, sorry, I've got yarn all over the place. Here we go. There we go. I would love a sweater in this color for myself. This is beautiful, and there's been no pooling whatsoever. I'm thrilled with the way this is coming out. So, and I can't wait to see her in it. So I am knitting the 6 to 12 month size because she's born in July. She's not gonna need a sweater. And you know what, in the first months with the babies anyways, you've got them in their onesies because that's the easiest to change the diapers with. So I'm doing the 6 to 12 months, so this way for the winter she will be all set and cozy, and hopefully it'll fit. Hopefully she won't grow too big to not fit into it. It was funny, I was worried about the neckline with the head. I thought about doing it back and forth and doing a button, and I don't remember why I went against it. Maybe because I've never done buttons, I've never done buttonholes, and I wasn't too sure. I tried looking on the project page for maybe directions on how they made the buttonhole, and I couldn't find any, so I decided to stick with this. But I was worried the neck wouldn't be wide enough, but it fits over my head. A little snugly, but it fits over my head. So if it fits over my head, it should fit over the baby's head. So my last work in progress, I'm not going to show you the needles. I have one round done on it, so it's not worth showing you the needles, but because I dyed up the yarn myself, I wanted to show you the yarn and then the gauge swatch as well. So this is, I'm working on the Tegna by Caitlin Hunter, and I think everybody is knitting this right now or has knit it. I am late on the bandwagon. So I had the yarn for this. I had ordered some Bear yarn, and it was now I'm not gonna remember the exact, I believe it was 55, I don't remember, I believe it was 55 Superwash Merino, 20% Mohair, and then 25% Nylon. I'm not 100% sure I have that correct, but I'll put it down below the correct percentages. So I bought some Bear yarn. I was going to dye it up myself. I was trying to go between, did I want to do gray or did I want to do a dusty rose? And when it came to the day that I was dyeing it, I decided to go completely different. So I wanted to do a plum color. So here is my gauge swatch. So now the gauge swatch is right on. However, I want a little bit thicker of a knit. So I went down a needle size and then up a size, a pattern size. So I'm doing the medium instead of the, I normally knit a small. So I'm doing the medium instead, and I went down a needle size so I can get a tighter gauge. But I love the way this knit up. In here, I dyed 3 skeins just because I was going up a skein. I wanted to make sure I had enough. So here is the yarn that I had dyed. And I am very pleased with the way it came out. So I have to admit, I dyed these all in one pot. One came out darker, one came out lighter, and this one's the middle color. So I figure the lighter and the darker I'm going to switch between, and I'll do every other row. And then if I need extra yarn, I'll break into this one, and this one should match pretty well because it's right in the middle. So it would be nice to try and figure out how to get them to match a little bit better, especially they were in the same pot, they were in the same dye, so I don't know how one picks up dye and not the other one. They're all put into the pot at the same time, but I'm playing with it. I'm having fun dyeing yarn and playing with it. I have 2 other Bear skeins left that I haven't decided what I want to do with yet or how I want to dye it, but I figure one Saturday when I have nothing going on, I can spend some time experimenting with those 2. So I am dying to get this started. I figure after I finish the baby sweater, I can really get working on this one. So that is it for all my works in progress. So I did pick up a couple things, and this is it. I'm getting to collect so much yarn that I really need to stop and take a breath, and I need to be more mindful of what I'm buying, what I'm going to do with it. However, I saw a couple things and I just couldn't help myself. So the first thing I purchased was, and this, you know what, this I purchased about 2 months ago. But this is Nomadic Yarn, and her Tabi is a free elf on her Brit sock, which is a 80% BFL and 20% nylon. And I love Tabi, and I couldn't help myself. I've knit up a couple of her socks. One was her sport base, and the other one was her 80-20, and I loved working with her yarn, and I love Tabi. I want all her yarns. Her yarns are so beautiful. The colors are amazing. So I can't wait to get this cast on. But I can't cast it on right away because I have too many socks on the needles. So, but anyways, I love this, and it's so soft. It's so soft and squishy. So that was my first purchase, and I love how I've only ordered Harry Potter ones from her, but I love how they all come with a Deathly Hallows stitch marker, which I just think is such a nice touch. So that was my first purchase. Then my second purchase was from the Woolen Cat. And I purchased 2 skeins of yarn from her. The first one, this is Midnight Margaritas, and to be honest with you, I purchased it because of the name. I love margaritas on my drink of choice, but her yarn is just beautiful and speckles, and I love her label. How cute is this little cat in its little cable sweater? So that was the first one I picked up from her, and then I fell in love with this. Just screamed spring to me, and I was really in the mood for spring and lighter colors, and this is a Camping in the Living Room. And I can't remember if I said these are both on her 75-25 base, and it's her classic cat base. So I love this. I'm hoping the colors pick up okay. So I picked up those 2, and that is it. So that was all my spending. So yeah, that is all the knitting things that I have. And I have to say, for the last week we've been really crazy busy. So 2 weekends ago was Mother's Day, and I hope all you mothers had a absolutely wonderful Mother's Day. I kind of spent the whole weekend celebrating. So we went and we saw Avengers with the boys on Friday night, the movie was amazing. I have to say, I love the Marvel movies, the franchise. I can't wait. May 8th next year, the second Avengers movie comes out. We're already counting down. And then that Saturday, like I said, I went and we got pedicures done with a couple of friends, which was nice, and a couple of their daughters. So that was really enjoyable, and just to sit there and be pampered. I don't get pedicures very often. My feet are very ticklish, so I laugh basically the whole entire time. And the woman who always does my pedicures laughs at me. So I don't go very often, but it was nice to sit there and relax, and I got some knitting done, and I just got to hang out with my friends, which was great. And then that night we ended up going out for Chinese food and sushi. My younger son loves octopus sushi. He also loves wasabi, and by loves wasabi I mean he will take the whole chunk of wasabi and eat it in one foul swoop. It's painful for me to watch. He seems to bounce back from it. Okay, so it doesn't bother him. Me, I would be on the floor if I ate that much wasabi. But so we did dinner then, and then on Saturday my husband and the boys took me to my favorite restaurant, The Cottage, out in Wellesley, and we had a very nice time, great time out there. And then I'm trying to think, and then this past weekend, what did we do? My youngest son volunteered to work with the Cub Scouts at the garden sale in town, at the center of town on Saturday, and unfortunately it was rainy and cold and gross. But we sat out there for 4 hours in the rain in the garden sale, and he loved it. He had a great time, and it's so nice that he wanted to volunteer, because you only had to volunteer for hour shifts, and he's so wonderful, and he was just like, I just want to do the whole thing, and he was there for the whole thing. He participated the whole time, which was great. And then Sunday was just extremely low-key. My husband had to work. He works for a university in Boston, and it was commencement, so he was working commencement. And so the boys and I just had a very low-key, relaxing Sunday, which was needed. So that is it. And I'm trying to think of, I have nothing coming up. It's Memorial Day weekend, this week's weekend, and unfortunately my older son has a soccer tournament the whole weekend. So we're not going away or doing anything. We'll be spending time on the side of the field. Hopefully it's nice out, fingers crossed, because the games play rain or shine. And then on Monday, my kids will be marching in the Memorial Day parade with the Boy Scouts and the Cub Scouts. So I think that's all we really have planned. And then the following week is absolutely nothing. So I'm hoping to sit back and relax and do a lot of knitting. So that is all I have for you. I hope you guys have a great 2 weeks ahead. Bye.